Hey there, Mr. Redder here. Welcome back to another episode of Reddit Podcast Stories. Our first story we'll be reading today. My cousin blames me for her being single and broke. After that, am I the jerk for not defending my boyfriend when my brother asked him to leave? And after that, young firefighter disrespects a lieutenant, so I shame him and get him to quit. Now for every thumbs up this video gets, one Karen does not get to blame someone else for her being single and broke. I'd love to be single again, but not the broke part, hence why I'm with you. So please smash that like button and subscribe and turn on notifications for new stories from Reddit every single day. My cousin blames me for her being single and broke. I, 25 female, recently got engaged a few months back, and my fiance, Carter, 26 male, and I are deep in the wedding planning stages. We were both at a family dinner party this past weekend when people asked us how the wedding planning was going, particularly my cousin, Danny, who's 32 female. Carter and I have been very fortunate enough to be in a situation where we can plan our dream wedding and are able to pay the majority of it ourselves with a little help from our parents. When we went into the details of how we want it to be a big wedding to invite a lot of friends and family we haven't seen in years due to lockdown, Danny immediately made comments about how we're spending twice her income for one day no one else cares about, and many other disrespectful comments throughout the night about our plans. For some context, Danny was pursuing a college degree that was completely financed by my parents as her mother could not afford it. But in her last year, she was expelled due to getting caught plagiarizing on a draft of her thesis. She hid this from my parents for a whole year, but still continued to accept their monthly checks that were meant to be for her tuition, and instead pocketed the money, around $30,000. This basically has limited her opportunities in the job market as she never graduated, and her then boyfriend left her a year ago after he discovered what she had been doing, and he didn't want to be with someone that had been lying about their degree and income. After her initial comment, she then went on to say how if my fiance and I are able to spend all this money on our wedding, we could put the money to better use by helping her out instead, as she wants to pursue community college courses to finish her degree. I said absolutely not, and this caused a huge argument because she kept saying how it's not fair that I'm rubbing it in about how I get the fancy wedding and fancy fiance, and she's struggling to pay her bills after her ex kicked her out. I do sympathize with her situation, but she literally cheated, got kicked out of a school as a consequence, proceeded to lie and steal $30,000 from my parents, and then lost her boyfriend for hiding all this from him for 2 years. The reason Danny is in this situation is her own fault, and I told her this exactly in front of everyone at dinner. Now our grandmother is calling me nonstop, saying how I'm being selfish and inconsiderate when my cousin is clearly going through a really hard stage in her life, and family doesn't humiliate one another. Basically, she now is siding with my cousin, saying maybe I could scale down my wedding a bit to not rub it in her face. It's kind of always been like this with my grandmother growing up because Danny is the firstborn grandchild that came after many issues and was always favored over my siblings and I. So, am I the jerk? Or I guess more realistically, was I being a bad person for the way I responded to Danny? Not the jerk. Danny is an adult and more than responsible for facing the consequences of her own actions. She very well could have not cheated, on a thesis might I add, and finished her degree. Then she wouldn't be broke, and she didn't have to lie to her boyfriend about the situation. But she did, and that's why she's single. You're completely right. It's her own fault, and she needs a wake-up call. If Grandma cares about Danny so much, why doesn't she pay for her community college payments then? Do yourself a favor and uninvite both Danny and your grandmother from your wedding. You're doing nothing wrong, and you deserve to enjoy this event however you and your fiance choose to do so. Not the jerk. You didn't actually do much here. You answered questions about your wedding plans and said no when your cousin asked you to pay her tuition. Even without the history between your cousin and your parents, you're not the jerk. How you spend your money is your business. It might have been slightly different if you'd gloated about your financial situation or mocked your cousin about hers, but you didn't. From what you wrote versus your grandmother's reaction, your cousin is likely telling her a very twisted version of the story. Am I the jerk for not defending my boyfriend when my brother asked him to leave? I'm 28, female. My boyfriend, 27, male, is Ryan. He likes to help others. He's the type of guy who would give a coworker money for their rent or buy groceries for our neighbor. However, he can take it too far at times. He often tries to help people without asking if they need or want his help. Every year, my brother, 35, male, Paul, and his wife, 33, female, Lily, host a holiday dinner. This year, Ryan attended for the first time. Before we left for their house, I told Ryan that Lily was legally blind and she has been for her entire life. She knew what she could and could not do. I told Ryan to only help Lily if she asked for help. We arrived early so I could help Paul and Lily cook. While we were cooking, Ryan kept telling Lily things like, "Lily, if you're looking for the salt, it's to your right." Or, "Lily, don't put that there. It's too close to the edge." Lily and Paul both told him that while his commentary was somewhat helpful, it was completely unnecessary. Still, Ryan did not stop. However, things became tense when Lily went to go chop vegetables. When she pulled out a knife, Ryan stopped her and asked if he could take over because he didn't want Lily to hurt herself. Lily said she'd be fine, but Ryan insisted she give him the knife. Finally, Paul got annoyed and told Ryan to stop. Ryan did stop, but he kept hovering over Lily when she was chopping. I asked Ryan to sit down until dinner was ready, but Ryan insisted that he just wanted to help. Finally, Lily asked us to set the table and greet people arriving. We did, but things were still tense. I did pull Ryan to the side and reminded him again to only help Lily if she asked for it. He agreed, but I could tell that he was still upset. Everything finally boiled over after dinner. My nieces, who are 5 and 3, have a game they love to play with their mother. They will hand Lily something, and Lily will have to guess what it is. Lily would sometimes make a couple of clearly outrageous guesses, like saying an egg is an elephant or a shoe, to make her daughters laugh. After dinner, the eldest handed Lily the salt shaker. When Lily guessed that it was a phone, Ryan piped up and said it was a salt shaker. Lily laughed it off and explained the game to Ryan, but I could see she was annoyed. My niece then handed Lily a coin. When Lily guessed incorrectly, Ryan loudly told Lily that it was a coin. This was apparently the last straw for Paul. Paul demanded that Ryan leave since he clearly couldn't respect Lily. Ryan insisted that he was trying to be helpful. However, Lily said it was probably best if Ryan and I left. I quickly gathered up our things and managed to convince Ryan to leave. Ryan is currently upset with me. He said I should have defended him, especially since I knew he was only being helpful. He also insisted that I should have stood up against Paul's overreaction, Ryan's words. I'm now wondering if I should have defended Ryan. Am I the jerk? Not the jerk. Ryan didn't deserve to be defended there. I'm sorry, I'm sure you love Ryan, but good lord, he sounds insufferable. He wasn't being nice, he was being patronizing. Lily neither wanted nor needed his help. He stuck his nose where it didn't belong, and he was asked to stop numerous times. I would have kicked him out too. It doesn't sound like he wants to be helpful. It sounds like he wants to be the benevolent yet superior being. He wants to feel the gratitude of the lesser masses. He can't handle being around a capable person who won't accept his magnanimity. Your boyfriend is very condescending. Not the jerk for not defending him, but maybe you should have told him to back off yourself more firmly. Young firefighter disrespects a lieutenant, so I shame him and get him to quit. I got revenge on this jerk I used to volunteer firefight with. This was in the early to mid-2000s. I decided to join the local fire department as a volunteer firefighter. I did it for about 5 years and it was great. Training consisted of 3 months of fire training, 2 nights a week, and all-day Saturday. And then you would go to EMT training, another 3 months of training. I was about a year in and I was asked to help train some new recruits. One of the lieutenants, Amy, was a short, middle-aged woman who was so full of fire she could make a grown man cry. One of those people who commands both fear and respect wherever she went. Honestly, a great lieutenant and a great person. When she wasn't being a drill sergeant, she was extremely kind and generous. She would often bake people cakes and treats and deliver them to the various stations in our department. However, in this new academy class that I was asked to help with, there was a jerk kid that we will call Aaron. Aaron talked big during the training and acted like he was the all-American hero, like he was going to be the leader and backdraft too. He performed moderately well in training, but far from the top of the class. He gets assigned to Amy's station, which is a pretty quiet station in the department. A few months after he starts, Amy swings by my station one night to say hi. She brings us the motherlode cake from Claim Jumper, massive 6-layer cake. She explained that she had treated her crew to a night out at Claim Jumper, which must have cost a lot of money. I think she took out 8 people and bought a whole cake to top it all off. They had eaten the first 2 layers, so she gave us the remaining 4. We thanked her profusely and she left. Back then, the big social media platform was MySpace, and I decided to look up some of the people in her department to make friends. I came across Aaron's page and I noticed some photos of him and the rest of his crew at Claim Jumper with Amy. However, when I read the comments, he bragged about how he had purposefully ordered the most expensive dinner, appetizers, and drinks since Amy was buying. He bragged about how he was going to take advantage of her stupidity. This alone ticked me off because she was being super nice by doing this and generous. What an ungrateful, selfish jerk. Then I read the rest of his profile. He had videos and memes on his page glorifying himself as a superstar firefighter, bragging about running into burning buildings and how he was such a hero. He was flirting with girls, blatantly trying to impress them with how brave he is. Bear in mind, he just graduated from the academy 3 months prior and hadn't even gone to EMT school. He had never been to a house fire, and all he basically did was carry gear for the other fully qualified firefighters. It was too much for me to tolerate. So here's the revenge. I printed off copies of his MySpace page, including his comments about Amy and toxic bragging. I made multiple copies and took them to every station in the department. We all had pagers and a small keyboard at each station to send out text messages. I made an anonymous, all-staff page to everyone in the department. I had to keep it brief since I couldn't fit a ton of characters, but I sent out his MySpace info and told everyone about how he had treated Amy. Within an hour, Aaron had cleaned out his MySpace page of all the posts, photos, etc. A couple of days later, he deleted his account. It's a good thing I had made so many copies. Immediately after this happened, he stopped coming to volunteer, and a few weeks later, I heard that he had quit. I later talked to Amy and admitted I was the one who sent the page. I told her I hated how he treated her and she thanked me. She seemed really sad and hurt by what he had done, but being the tough, short lady that she was, she quickly got back into being an actual tough firefighter. She later started dating and married a fire chief that also helped out at the academy. I've lost touch with her, but I hope she did well. She seemed happy last time I saw her. Owner steals the tip I left from my favorite waitress. I go to a local lunch spot a few times a week, and I'm waited on by the same young woman every time I eat there. She's always very polite, and she knows I have limited time, so she lets me leave cash on the table for my bill rather than stand in line at the register. I always leave her the change, probably about $6 on a $14 tab. Last week, I dropped off a Christmas card for her, and I tucked a $100 bill in the card, thanking her for her service throughout the year. She wasn't there, so I left the sealed card with the owner. Yesterday, I went for lunch, and my favorite waitress was there. As soon as she saw me, she smiled and thanked me for my Christmas card and the $20 I gave her. I was sort of shook. I said, "I left you $100. That's when she told me that the owner had opened her card, and since all tips are shared by the staff, he gave everyone a share. When I found this out, I was floored. This meant the guy had opened a sealed card that I delivered. He took the $100 out and put $20 back into her card. As I was leaving, I saw the guy coming out of the back, and I asked to speak with him. He came over, and I told him I didn't appreciate him opening something private that I had left for the waitress, and that he either owed me $80 or her. He started explaining that all tips are shared, but I cut him off. You do not open a sealed card with someone else's name on it. If I had known that was going to happen, I would have never have left it with the owner. He told me that he knew there was probably money in it, and he wanted it to be fair to everyone who worked for him. So I asked a guy behind the counter, "Did you get $20 from this guy?" The dude didn't answer, but when the owner looked away, the dude shook his head very quickly. I yelled back into the kitchen, "Hey, did any of you get $20 from this guy last week?" Lots of confused looks. The owner tried to comp my tuna sandwich, then got angry at me for causing a scene. He threatened to call the cops and told me to never return to his diner again. I left, but I told the waitress I would be back around today at noon to give her the $80. She insisted that she didn't want it, but I'm making sure she gets it. I have to ask, is there anything I can do here? I feel like he literally stole from one of his employees. Update. Thank you for the feedback. I won't leave a bad review just because there are people who work there and the food is good. I met my waitress at lunch across the street and tried to give her $80, but she told me the owner gave it back to her before she finished her shift. What a great person. She wouldn't take it even after I said she could have it. To the poster who said I should never have given the card to someone other than the waitress, you're spot on, mate. Lesson learned. Can't throw away a small box because it'll fill up the trash can? Fine, I'll just clean my truck out. For a little context, I'm a construction worker with my own company truck. As far as from what I've seen in my area, most people with company trucks have this thing where the front two seats always stay very clean. Aside from dirt that comes from working in my field of work, the back seats, however, are a different story. It's amazing how much trash gets thrown back there, whether it be water bottles, snack wrappers, food wrappers, etc. My truck has a contract with a local detailer that comes and washes and vacuums all company trucks bi-weekly to keep the appearance up. We're just responsible for removing all the large trash so they don't have to do that much work. Usually we just throw out everything at the dumpster at the shop before the detailer goes in and works his magic. Anyways, onto the story. So today I had just finished up a service call and was about to go on my lunch break. I had stopped at a local gas station near downtown Austin to pour gas right before I headed off to get some tacos. As I'm pouring gas, I look in the back of my tailgate and realized I forgot to throw away trash at the job site and didn't want to run the risk of it flying out and possibly causing an accident. So naturally, I decided to take it out, break the box down, and toss it in the trash can at the pump. Now, the box itself wasn't too big, about the size of a shoebox, and once broken down, it was probably about a quarter of that size. As I took the broken down box and placed it in the trash, one of the ladies who worked at the gas station came out furious, saying I wasn't allowed to throw away that box. She claimed the trash was only for smaller items, and we weren't allowed to throw away larger things. I was really confused and told her that it really wasn't all that big and I didn't see an issue. She then argued that the cardboard can unravel and fill up the bin, and then she would have to replace the bags. I didn't feel like arguing, so I just obliged and took out the box and placed it back in the tailgate. She thanked me for not being so difficult and was about to go into the gas station before I stopped her and asked, "So then, what can I throw away in the trash?" She replied with, "Anything small like water bottles, taco bags, wrappers, etc." Now the malicious compliance. After she said that, I thanked her for letting me know and proceeded to open the back door to my truck, and she got a hold of all of the mess. I then proceeded to take out small loads of empty water bottles, taco bags, etc. It's truly amazing how much trash builds up in these construction trucks. Unless one had been recently cleaned out, I have never seen one with little to no mess. I think I'm pretty good at tossing the stuff out of my truck, but every 2 weeks when I submit my truck for cleaning, it always baffles me how much mess is in there. I then proceed to stuff the trash can with trash and fill it up. Now, granted, these trash cans already had trash in them and weren't all that big, and I didn't really press down the trash to make it more fit. I then proceeded to move to the next trash can and started filling that one up, all while looking at her with the biggest smirk on my face. She then proceeded to tell me that I can't be throwing out that much stuff because it's only meant for small things that I bought from the store. I then proceeded to show her that almost all of this stuff can be bought at the store she was working at. She then screams at me, saying there's no way I bought everything there and that I probably got some from other places as well. I then pulled out my company gas card that was from her gas station and told her that this was the only gas station that I'm allowed to use while in this vehicle. So yes, I come to this store a lot since it's right by my job, and most of this, other than the taco wrappers, came from here. She then proceeded to call me a jerk and a few other names as she stormed off into the store. I just sat there with a huge feeling of accomplishment, knowing that I dealt with that Karen accordingly. If she would have just let me throw out the small box, you wouldn't have to come out and replace the trash bags right now and could be sitting inside on your phone. But now you gotta come out and do the job you're getting paid to do. It must suck to actually have to do what you were hired to do, all because you thought some small pieces of cardboard would fill up one little trash can. Little words of advice. Next time, mind your own business. Hassling a front-end employee for doing their minimum wage job, which is enforcing stupid corporate rules, and who could get fired over your pettiness, is gross behavior. So do you throw trash in the backseat of your personal vehicle also? I truly don't understand slobs who do this to company equipment. I mean, nothing is more enjoyable than emptying trash from equipment before you can run it. Congratulations, you didn't own a Karen. You owned a low-level employee probably making minimum wage. Am I the jerk for leaving dinner early and causing a scene in front of my wife's family? Let me preface this by saying that I, male 35, love my wife, who's 40. I just think she can be a bit inconsiderate at times. My son, 15, male, has what my wife calls a deadpan voice. While I admit he doesn't show much enthusiasm when speaking, I think he has a right to express himself in his own way. My wife, however, insists that he needs to be more enthusiastic and vocal. She often tells him to speak up or say it with feeling, and I can tell that it gets to him. My wife recently started taking a different approach, which I can tell really bothers him. When addressing him, she talks in the most enthusiastic voice she can muster. She'll even go as far as to clap her hands and make facial expressions as she talks to him. "How was school today? Tell me all about it. Speak loudly and with enthusiasm." Think kindergarten teacher talking to her students. My son just looks at her like she's crazy, and I can tell he's embarrassed. I've tried to privately talk to my wife about this, but she doesn't seem to get it. She insists that her way is the right way and that our son needs to learn how to be more outgoing. So fast forward to yesterday. We were celebrating Christmas at my sister-in-law's house, and my son asked me to pass the gravy. My wife, in her usual enthusiastic voice, started saying, "Say it with feeling, honey. Can you ask for the gravy with enthusiasm?" I snapped. It's one thing to do this when it's just the two of us, but doing this in front of our family was too much. I got up, took my son, and took him to the movies, leaving my wife with the other family members. After we got back, my wife pulled me aside and absolutely ripped into me for causing a scene. She said that I was embarrassing her and that I was out of line. I told her that I was tired of her trying to fix our son's personality and that I felt this was a good opportunity to make a point. My wife's family hasn't said anything to me, but I've been getting a lot of judgmental looks from them. I just wanted to stick up for my son, but did I go too far? Am I the jerk? Loudly and with enthusiasm, not the jerk. I have a friend whose diction is very emotionless, OP, and they are an absolutely wonderful person. It doesn't mean anything about his personality or his capacity for emotion or passion. You're doing the right thing standing up for your son. Not the jerk. Not the jerk. She's purposely embarrassing him in front of the family and treating him like a toddler. Your son is 15. You're the jerk. Your wife is right. You shouldn't allow your son to be an emotionless rock. It's up to us as parents to help our kids develop into people of substance. As you can see in all these comments, substance is definitely lacking in these foolish commenters. Most of them probably go days at a time without even smiling. Is that really how you want your son to end up? Like these miserable Redditors? I had twin boys that are now both 26 years old. One was enthusiastic while the other was deadpan and reserved like your son. Well, now one is married. He has a great career, they have 2 kids and a nice house. The other is still living upstairs in his old bedroom playing video games all day. You take a guess which one was deadpan. I'd give anything to go back in time and make my quiet, boring son expand his comfort zone. It's too late for me and he'll probably never make anything of himself. But it's not too late for you. Do the right thing and help that boy stop being a loser. Edit. Stop lashing out at me. All of you deadpan people who claim you live great lives, let's be honest. Being adults who still live at home, don't have jobs or significant others, that's not a great life, and it's nobody's fault but your own. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or his wife? Please let us know. I've never understood what the big deal is about being enthusiastic and smiling and being friendly. Am I the jerk for not wanting coal for Christmas? This year, I went to my fiance's house for Christmas. It was my first time going, as we would typically go to my family's house instead. I got a rather pricey gift for my fiance, Dan, related to his hobbies. I got nice gifts for Dan's parents based off of things I had talked about with them before, and I got a small pack of chocolates for each of Dan's other relatives. I didn't know them that well. I wasn't expecting many gifts from Dan's relatives because I didn't know many of them that well, but I was certainly expecting more than I got. At first, I was excited when I saw that there was a big pile of gifts for me. However, once I opened the first one, it was just a piece of coal. Everyone laughed, and I just kind of laughed along, thinking that it was a gag gift and that the other gifts would be different. But every single one turned out to be coal, all 18 of them. I started to get upset, so I cried and lashed out at Dan, but he calmly explained, apparently, that this is a long-standing tradition in his family, where they gift coal to the newcomers who are celebrating Christmas with them for the first time. He explained that it's just easier that way, since all of the relatives who might not know the newcomer well don't have to stress over finding a gift for them, and it's a fun experience for the newcomer as well. I told Dan I couldn't believe I skipped my own family celebration for this and left. But now, Dan and some of his family are blowing up my phone, saying I embarrassed him in front of his relatives and that I made it awkward for everyone. So, am I the jerk? Not the jerk. You skipped your family's Christmas for this, and they shouldn't have done this to you without a warning. Just because they enjoy this tradition doesn't mean it can't be hurtful to you, and they clearly ruined the occasion and then gave you a stupid explanation. Especially your fiance is inconsiderate in all of this. You deserve better. This was legit humiliation. Seems like I'm in the minority, but you're the jerk. It's a lighthearted joke, not a hazing or a humiliation. Opening up presents that are cold is not an ordeal, guys. An OP way overreacted. Significant other could have prepared her a bit better by not letting her spend too much on gifts or hinting at the joke that she'd be part of. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or her boyfriend's family? Please let us know. I kicked out my mother-in-law because she wants my husband to leave me. I'm 24, female, and my husband, who's 25, male, and I just had a beautiful baby girl 2 months ago. His mom is a self-made entrepreneur, and she's honestly an inspiration to me. She's strong, intelligent, had fought hard for everything she owns, and before I got pregnant, we got along just fine. She supported me in my professional decisions and never showed any sign to not approve of our relationship. When we told my husband's parents that we were pregnant, his dad congratulated us and looked so happy to be a grandfather. His mom, not so much. She quickly asked us what were we going to do, and that if we didn't want to have the kid, she would support us. She believed that we both had promising futures, and if we had a baby this early in our careers, we'll never fulfill our dreams. But my husband and I assured her that we had everything planned. We both agreed that I was going to dedicate a year to our daughter, and then I was going to go back to work. We never asked them for a penny, and neither of us waited for them to fund our new lifestyle. My mother-in-law didn't like it. My husband had a good job, had just enrolled himself on a master's degree, and now he's going to be a father and the breadwinner of the house. For her, it was too much on his shoulders. So a few days ago, she came to my house and proposed an experiment to me. She told me that during the rest of the year I was going to be a stay-at-home mom. I could go back to my parents. This will allow my husband to come home and rest after a long day of work or school, and during the weekends, he could come to me and visit us if he had the energy to do so. I said that it wasn't fair since she was our daughter and not just mine, and that she shouldn't expect my husband to not have any kind of responsibility towards her. She said that after I ruined my husband's life with an early baby, that's the least I could do. That I was going to grow comfortable after 1 year of doing basically nothing, and that if my husband was lucky, this would end on a divorce, which for her is the best outcome by now. I couldn't believe what she was proposing to me and told her that she was crazy for even thinking that, and that our baby didn't appear magically in my belly. I kicked her out, and when my husband came home, I told him everything. We decided to cut contact with his mom, but I can't get the fact that she said I ruined his life out of my head. I'm not planning on being a stay-at-home mom forever, and to be honest, I do want to get back to work. I'm an architect while my husband is an engineer, and I very much enjoy my career. He does come home from work tired, but our baby isn't a big problem. She doesn't cry all the time, and we get her to calm down very easily. Also, it's not like I'm home doing nothing. I do small projects for my friend's firm every now and then as a freelancer, and I have a position waiting for me there. My husband and I just decided that I had to remain available for our daughter the first year in case anything happens because this is our first baby. Edit. Whoa, thank you for all of your input. I can't believe this blew up. My mother-in-law hasn't always been like this, but after we decided to have the baby, her behavior changed completely. I'll answer some of your questions you left. Again, thank you so much. Karen tries to force me to cover her shift, ends up losing her job. Okay, so I, female 21, work in a small and private liquid and tobacco store. We have a total of 10 workers. For most of them, it's their second job. Only I and 3 other coworkers only have this job. However, I'm a college student, so I'm not working many hours, usually only 10 hours a week. Last Friday morning, one of my coworkers, Alyssa, asked me if I could cover her shift. I declined because since I started working there 3 years ago, I'm constantly covering shifts for other people. However, when I ask for people to cover my shift or trade shifts, nobody returns the favor. So in the last 6 months, I started to decline as well, unless someone is actually sick or so. Alyssa said it's urgent, and since it was the Friday closing shift, I assumed she just wants to go partying since she's known to ask for covering her shifts on the weekends so she can go party. I suggested that she can ask some other coworker. She only said that nobody is willing to cover her shift, and I just said, sorry, but I can't. This conversation was exclusively via text message. Yesterday, when I came to work, my other coworker, Tara, she's kind of friends with Alyssa, at least at work, was upset. I asked her what was wrong, and she just said that I'm a selfish jerk, and then explained that Alyssa apparently wanted to have her shift covered because she was asked to come to some meeting with her boss at her main work, and since she missed it, she was fired. Apparently, she was on the verge of being fired before, and the meeting was to talk out stuff with her boss, and since she didn't come, she couldn't explain herself, and that sealed the deal for her boss. Coworker and I had a fight then. I told her that Alyssa didn't tell me why exactly she wanted her shift covered, and if I had known the exact reason, I probably would have done it. Tara said that Alyssa didn't need to give me the real reason, and the indicator that it's urgent should have been enough. When I said that Alyssa had said such things in the past just to go out partying, she just insisted that I just cannot assume that someone is lying when they say it's urgent. I asked Tara why she didn't cover the shift, and she just said that since she's working 40 hours a week, she needs every rest she can get, and basically said that since I'm just a college student, I shouldn't be so difficult about working a few more hours. I'm feeling really crappy about this. I know that I didn't know the real reason why she wanted her shift covered, but maybe I really should have just believed her when she said it was urgent. I don't know if I should talk to Alyssa and what to say to her. Am I the jerk? Edit. Didn't expect this to blow up overnight. First of all, thanks to all the nice comments telling me it's okay to say no. While I'm doing it, since I was completely overworked in the past, I still sometimes feel guilty about saying no. But somehow, it feels nice that people validate this. Secondly, a lot of you said that her story sounds fishy. I personally didn't question it at first because we sometimes have meetings with our boss after closing time, 9 p.m., as well at the store. But the more people commented, the more I started to doubt Alyssa's story as well. Her main work is in retail as well, so I assumed it was just a stay here after the shift thing. But she didn't bother to call our boss to say it's important, and again, some people say it's unusual to have such talks on Fridays, and it's also unusual to get told about such a meeting with basically no advance. Either Alyssa didn't care about the interview as much, or she lied about having it. I'm not sure, and to be honest, I'm not sure I want to know. I will just stand firm as you all have told me to do, and try not to let them guilt trip me. Support our channel by joining as a member today, and we'll give you a shout out in our next video. Or come watch this video next. You won't believe what Karen does in that one.